following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys Role Playing System created by Fantasy Flight Games and produced by Edge Studios. A show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the players and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me as always are my good friends and co-hosts, Chris Holmes and Stefan Dragonspawn. Homie, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. Been playing a lot of Star Wars. Online still. That's kind of been the main theme, right?
You and me both.
Yeah, I know. Though I did play some WoW with my daughter and a couple friends today, so pretty good. Still doing a bit of online gaming in that regard, but role-playing, not much. Actually, we Thursday night, Star Wars, pretty damn fun, dude. That was pretty good. So, how about you, Steph? How you doing, man?
Well, I was there for Thursday on the Star Wars game. Yes, it was very good.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, very nice. Things are coming along. We're, lots of role playing happening. We're very immersed.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Getting some gaming on. So, my game with Darren has been put on hold, but still, maybe it might pick up after Thanksgiving. We'll see. A couple of players have to take care of some stuff. So, darn real life. But everything's good on the walls. Yeah, I know. But otherwise, we've been good. Severe windstorms today, but the power is maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Some people in our area have lost power, but we're okay. So,
well, good.
Yes. And you, Tony, what about you? Talk to us.
I have been enjoying the fruits of my labors and working a lot, because that's the fruits of my labors. It just gets me more work.
Well, if you like your job.
Well, you do such a good job at your work. They give you more, right?
But it's I do that and I game. I don't really do much else. So I mean,
what else?
Again,
though, really hanging
Yeah.
out
right now. Well, Michigan just shut down again. So,
oh, wonderful.
It was announced tonight because our coronavirus is getting real bad up here.
Yeah.
So they're slowing things down a little bit, pumping the brakes, saying, people, stay apart, stay home, leave each other alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
We've got some stuff in Ontario too, but it's not across the province. So it's like Toronto, the major cities, Montreal, those are clamping down. But in our area where we live, it's more rural. We're okay. People are being safe and reasonable, so we're lucky.
Okay.
So yeah, tomorrow at work ought to be fun. All the coronavirus deniers are going to be up my butt. So,
All right. Hopefully that won't be too uncomfortable for you.
well, I say that more figuratively.
Let's hope.
Yes. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah.
For me, that would be a pain in the ass. Not for others.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, here's some figurative lube.
Thanks. It's called headphones. That's how I survive.
There you go.
Oh, good.
But anyhow, all that aside, no, everything's been great, and I've been chomping at the bit to do this episode.
Yes, and what episode is this?
Well, this is getting back to Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse, which is this is going to be our final before the wrap up of the setting, final Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse show, where we go over the adversaries that we've created. We have a bunch. We're only going to go over a few. And we're calling this episode 70, Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse, non-patron characters.
Nice.
AKA NPCs.
That's right. That are non-patrons of the bar.
Nope.
Of the Epsilon Eclipse itself.
Yes.
Awesome.
So let's get on with it.
Yep. right. So now we're going to boost the signal.
You're so flustered.
After what Tony just said.
My manager might still love him anyway. So.
Well, this is where Stefan shares all the Genesys news off the wire. Reviews a project from the Edge Studios section of the DTRPG, formerly the Foundry. Oh, I like that, Tony. You kind of changed up the words on me there. Yes, everybody.
Take credit for that. That's
actually
that's right, because it's not the Foundry anymore. It's the Edge Studios now have their own section up on the RPG Now and stuff. So can't wait to see stuff from them.
Exactly. So the section when you go on Drive Through RPG, you sometimes click Fantasy Flight Games, and then there's everything that used to be Fantasy Flight Games that was available, and then you had the icon for the Foundry, no longer there. So you have to search Edge Studios,
okay,
and that'll give you everything. Cool. And I like to, because I have the boosting the signal segment, I like to keep it as bookmark it with dates added. As date added, so it's everything more recent.
So then, are there all of Chris Markham's stuff has been taken down? No, I'm just kidding. So that's not under Edge Studios or anything. The Foundry's still up there, or no?
No, the actual icon for Foundry is gone, so you can't just click on it and get the Foundry. So you have to actually go Edge Studios, which will show you everything in the columns, Edge Studios. But you can still search by, let's say, the creators if you're looking through Chris Markham, because that's what they'll have the name of the creator, publisher there. So the first product I have to boost the signal is by Jared Henry. He published a new setting called Children of Aten, which is a setting where many worlds with their own unique native species and biomes, instead of calling them races, I guess, are unpredictably connected by pathways that may open anywhere at any time. Designed for epic high fantasy adventures where magic is rare, dangerous, and mysterious, but very much present across the realms. And each realm includes an example encounter, seed, or hazard, as well as some NPCs, wild creatures, and a mount or a pet. So the setting kind of sounds a bit familiar, a bit like what we're working on ourselves, but has enough differences. And they include, 18 playable archetypes, the power of hypnotism, a new type of magic action, lots of new talents, over 70 of them, and 95 adversaries, including mounts, beasts of burden, etc., and gear. With different craftsmanship styles and vehicles, from airships, gliders, clockworks. The cover art kind of reminds me a little bit of the, let's say, John Carter of Bars kind of thing, So, and he includes even rules for epic battles with siege engines and heavy fortifications. So that's available. $10 on Drive Through RPG. We'll have a link in the show notes. And we also have issue number 4 of Boost, which stands for the Book of Online Sourced Triumphs, which they've come up with once in a while. And this one is a steampunk setting or tone. It explores that subgenre, and you'll find, of course, gear, craftsmanship, weapons, species, and more vehicles. So you can look at that, and it's free. This one they just give it out for free.
Nice.
And it's not that many pages, but it gives you a good base to go on, and it's different contributors. There's our good friend Chris Markham and Tyler Comstock and Caleb Smith and a few other names. Maybe Giri Rahman and Flame 112, which might be a handle of some kind. So This is number 4. So those are the 2 that came out fairly recently. And we'll include the show note, the link for that. And I also include in the show notes the link to find everything for Genesys under Edge Studio. So
cool.
As well. So there you go. I hope that this has helped boost your signal, you guys out there. More publicity, and whether they charge for the product or not, at least to give them more visibility and exposure to these awesome products.
Excellent. Well done, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. Well then.
Yeah.
We're ready to get into the meat of the show then?
Yep. Let's get it.
I do have one little caveat I'd like to add, and one thing I noticed. So I was just checking the search for Edge Studio, and when you do that search, make sure you caps lock Edge. It's all in caps, and it's Edge Studio, not Edge Studios. Just so you know, it'll come up easier if you put the exact information in.
Excellent.
Right.
Yeah, and what Stefan said, we have it in our show notes, but I'll put it on the website for this episode too. That direct link to Edge Studio.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, thanks, Tony.
Because I bookmarked it from now on, so that
cool.
And it always sorts it by date added. So
okay, awesome
for me. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Excellent.
All
right.
Well, then let's get there.
Move on.
All right. Well, everybody, welcome to the Books of Genesys. All right. Now, this is where we're going to normally break down a section of the Book of Genesys, one of the books of Genesys, bit by bit, but we've reopened a few of these books, actually. The core book and the Expanded Player's Guide. And I actually opened up Shadow of the Beanstalk to give myself a bit of inspiration for what I've created. What other sources did you guys use for yours other than your wonderful brains?
I used my farty bits, just my thinky parts.
Your thinky parts? That brain matter? The gray matter? How about you, Stefan? Anywhere else you draw your inspiration from? Anybody use Keyforge?
A little bit of gray matter. No, actually, I didn't use Keyforge. I didn't create any races. I inspired some of the other books, but also from a movie, the Dr. Slozinski from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but with a darker twist.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, you know what? I will kick this off with the
all right.
2 adversaries that I've created, both related. I've starting to work on our trans-dimensional police force. So I've created a TDPD sergeant and the police drones that he would have with him when one of these enforcement units come down. So the flavor text here. The Transdimensional Police Force, or TDPF, is a very powerful organization that keeps a fabric of time and space held together by enforcing the laws set forth in the Codex of Transdimensional Travel. They use their seemingly limitless resources to investigate the anomalies, residual energies, and paradoxes created by transdimensional travel and apprehend those who are careless enough to fracture the barriers of space-time. So when you see a transdimensional police force enforcement unit, typically made up of a sergeant, maybe 3 to 5 police drones, obey their orders or suffer the consequences because your friends might not ever see you again. Although the TDPF stations are ubiquitous throughout the known transdimensional universe, no one knows exactly where prisoners serving multi-year sentences are held.
Nice. Thing, yes.
So threw in a couple of fiddly bits in there for you GMs who may be running this to, mess around a bit. So for the sergeant here, he's a rival. Took the stats from the cunning array in the expanded player's guide, giving him a brawn of 2, agility and cunning of 4, intellect, willpower, and presence of 2 for his stats. He's going to have a soak of 3, which is, I have wrong in my thing here. Instead of 2, it's going to be a soak of 3. 15 wounds, made him hardy, added a few wounds in there for him. And then I also selected the dodgy, characteristic, where his defense, range, and melee defense are going to be 1 as well.
Nice.
So, gave him a lot of skills, because these guys are he's supposed to come in here and investigate what's going on and still be a presence involved. Those presence is fairly low. I did give him a couple ranks, I gave him a rank in cool, 2 ranks in discipline, 3 ranks in perception and streetwise, a couple of ranks in skullduggery and survival and vigilance. Pretty good with these. He was kind of like that gunslinger. Took that skill array for the gunslinger, and I think I grabbed the investigator as well, but I tweaked those skill arrays a little bit. And Tony, when I ran it past you the other day, we kind of tweaked those skills, brought them down a little bit. So he's got his combat skills. He's got basically ranged light, 4 ranks in it, so he'll basically be hitting anything he draws his weapon on. He has a coercion of 2, but because he is wearing the badge of the Transdimensional Police Force, he's going to get a boost die to any coercion and leadership checks that he makes.
Wow.
He also has a leadership of 2. Then he's got a bit of knowledge of the multiverse. So gave him knowledge multiverse, 2 ranks or 3 ranks in that, actually.
Right.
Let's see. So he has a specialized TDPF synapse pistol, which I got from what is it? The
Shadow of the Beanstalk.
Yep. Which is going to have a base damage of 5, a crit rating of 6, but it does have, I believe it does have like the stun quality in it, I believe, which I didn't make a note of in here, but it does. It's got a targeting reticle, gives it the accurate quality, and it's got a weapon lockout, so only he can use it.
Nice.
Unless you make a daunting computer's check to try and use it. Some other gear that I gave him was, his vest, sergeant's vest. Some smart specs. Got a handheld diagnostic temporal scanner. That'll help him on those investigation checks. Then he's got snap lock restraints from Shadow of the Beanstalk as well, which are pretty awesome. Gave him Adversary 1 because didn't want to give him those, those talents as they suggested, like dodge or parry, defensive stance, that kind of stuff, that where you have to spend strain to activate them. Gave him Adversary 1, which really is a brilliant talent for your adversaries. And then the ability that I gave him makes him feel more of like that leader that's like directing his subordinates, would be that tactical direction talent, where he can spend a maneuver to direct one friendly minion group within medium range. They can immediately perform an out-of-turn incidental to perform a maneuver or add a boost die to the next check that they make. So made him feel more like the leader of this group, So.
Yeah. Definitely fits, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I got for this guy. Questions? Comments?
Now,
excuse me.
What was your baseline race for this?
Oh, I had a human.
Okay. But you could do one as any of the major races in Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse, correct?
Absolutely, because
with minor modifications,
and I don't think I don't see this police force being xenophobic.
No,
like the Empire,
okay.
Or do we?
Well, I mean, it's up to us really what we want to put in for the police force itself. But I was just curious what your baseline was, what you used. I could tell it was human based on the picture you used, but this is a audio medium, not a visual. So,
right.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the picture that I used, it does look human, doesn't he? Yeah, didn't really think about the species when I was actually doing it. I just went through like the expanded player's guide, just gave him like, here are the stats that I see. You know what I mean?
I don't see a problem with it being humanocentric. That kind of gives it also a bit of a exclusionist feel too. I have no problem with that.
Okay. Or maybe they have the occasional other species, whether they're the various Taurans or Zal.
Those are just the ones we created. Now, remember, we when we first started this, we wanted it to be a kind of a kitchen sink, where if someone wanted to bring in, say, a Martian from Keyforge, they most assuredly could, and he could be a member of the TDPD, and TDPF. That would be sorry,
I have the wrong. Police force instead of police department. There we go.
TDPF. Yes,
TDPF.
Yeah, or of course, like you mentioned, Keyforge, just create an entire new species using the Keyforge tools in there.
Oh yeah,
to create a new species.
Yeah, now and then having a link to the TDPF, like maybe a character. If you create a character that used to serve on the police force, wouldn't be out of the ordinary either.
No, it'd be a great way to to start your bar tab as being a former TDPF agent.
Yep, that's a great idea. Cool. All
right, what you got? What else you got, homie?
The other ones so the sergeant normally has a few police drones that come with them, and these are bipedal-looking drone dudes. That I took the stats from the hired mercenary minions. This is a minion group. Hired mercenaries from the Shadows of the Beanstalk. So I gave them a 3 brawn, 3 agility, 1 intellect, 2 cunning, 2 willpower, and 1 presence. And like I said, they're a minion group. Oh, you know what? Let me go back. Let me do one quick little go back. Give you the power levels that I found, that I calculated for the sergeant. Combat power level turned out to be 3. Social is 2. And then the general is 3 as well. Feels pretty good to me. Not too powerful, but powerful enough for starting off characters and players to characters to be we probably need to run away, or if we did something wrong, you know what I mean. And then the police drones, they're going to have they have more like combat armor, meaning like the plating is a little nastier. So they're gonna have a soak of 5. So brawn plus 2 soak. They're each minion will have 5 wounds. Their group skills are athletics, discipline, resilience, vigilance, melee, and ranged light. So, you've got discipline. Could go neither here nor there with that, but I felt like it probably needs to be in there. Looking like that seems pretty good.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then again, the same kind of weapon. The Synapse pistol I gave to each one of these guys too, but I also gave each one of these guys a stun baton. And that's basically just a stunning weapon that'll disorient you, do stun damage.
Right.
Gave it the weapon lockout quality as well, so that nobody can just come up and pick up one of these stun batons and just bashing somebody with it. And then gave it like an enhanced weight, So it's a weighted stun baton, so it does a little more damage.
Okay.
A little more stun damage, at the beeps. So, that's basically about it. Really, the only ability would be that they're mechanical. Typically, you wouldn't. You could give minions, one ability. You don't want to give them any talents. But this mechanical ability feels right because they don't need to breathe, eat, drink. They can survive in a vacuum or underwater, immune to poisons and toxins. And for a drone, you'll want to send them into those tough environments potentially, right?
This reminds me of the police drones from the movie Chappie.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of pulled on that just a little bit. I remember that. Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks, buddy.
That's good. Yeah.
All right.
So what did they have for an overall rating?
Yes, their overall rating, they had a 3 in their combat, a 1 in their social, but then 4 in their general skills because they're little, they have the athletics, resilience, and vigilance. And I think the mechanical ability might have brought that up just a little bit too.
Yeah, mechanical, I remember looking at that, does increase the general.
By 1 or 2, I think. That's what that
I think it was 2.
So
nice.
There you go. That is your trans-dimensional police force.
Well done, Holmes.
Thanks.
Very good, yes.
All right.
Very nice.
Who wants to go next?
I can go next. So I got inspired simply by our last advantageous threat.
Mm-hmm.
So I expanded a bit on Dr. Slozinski. If our listeners remember, he's the one who shrunk our 2 heroes and then left them on his experiment table to be dealt with by Scorp bots. So I'll be expanding on those 2 plus 1 other. So I'll start with the good doctor himself. So Dr. Warren Graft Slozinski, a.k.a. Dr. War. He is I did go a little bit through the expanded player's guide and looked at the stats and stuff. I would have given him, the smart, not smart person, but the savant skill or characteristic array. Started with that, tweaked it a little bit. So he's got brawn 1. He's not a powerhouse. Agility 2, but intellect 5, cunning of 3, willpower of 4, but a presence of 2. He's not that likable. So he is a Zemlian mad scientist. So this is one of the races that Chris developed for the Epsilon Eclipse setting. So they're red-skinned human-like beings from a world that's mostly Victorian-era technology or feel. So he's a mad scientist and the discoverer of etheric energies, as he calls it. This etheric energy can be tapped into by using very rare crystals and an alloy that he has synthesized and dubbed Etherium. And when it's combined in a certain way and powered by even a small amount of electricity, the power is multiplied 100-fold, and then he can modify it to shrink and grow things. So his ultimate aim was he wanted to use this technology to help his world by reducing all kinds of things and people, thus making them lighter and allowing the cost of travel or transport to be reduced, or and carry so much more stuff for the same amount of fuel. So imagine like a train full of people, but instead having just one level of cabins, you might have 10 cabins stacked on top of each other in the same space. People are tiny, and then they go through another machine to restore them to full size.
Cool. So when you go through the security point, it shrinks you.
You're shrunk. You're shrunk. You're shrunk to your cabin, which is small, and then you're shrunk. You're regrown. But of course, now some people didn't quite like the idea for whatever reasons. But so he's gone rogue to try and prove them wrong.
Probably because some corporation tried to turn it into a penis enlargement.
Maybe. And it had some horrific side effects. So he is a nemesis. And I gave him, he got a soak of 2. He's got a heavy kind of apron that can soak a little bit of damage. Not a powerhouse, only 11 wounds, but much more strain. He's used to using his mind and his presence or his willpower. For his skills, some computers, 3 ranks of computers, so discipline, 1 rank, some mechanics, of course, 3 ranks there, and perception, fairly perceptive individual. Not much in combat skills. Sorry.
I'd like to call out that you forgot discipline doesn't exist in our setting.
It's right.
Mental discipline.
Mental discipline. I'll have to modify that. But he's still trained his mind for that. A little bit of range combat, but not much. He's got this ray gun, but we'll talk about it later. Bit of coercion. Just 1 rank. Of course, knowledge of science overall, and I invented a new knowledge skill called Etheric energy. He discovered it, so he's researching it. He doesn't have a lot of ranks in it because it's still a new discipline kind of thing, so only 2 ranks of that. Nice. But it's probably two ranks more than anyone else knows. So.
Nice.
And as far as weapons go, I gave him his Etheric ray gun. So it's a customized pistol kind of thing. It shoots basically slightly damaging. It's not a mortal or lethal ray. It does stun damage. It is fairly accurate. But what he can do is when he hits someone, he can use 3 advantages to reduce the silhouette of the target by 1. Or if you get, that shouldn't be a despair. That should be a triumph. On a triumph, he gets to reduce the target to the size of a small mouse.
Oh, nice.
For a little while. It's not as much. I should actually add. I forgot to add the duration. This would not be his full-size version of a shrink ray, which is permanent, but this might be for the encounter.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
So that's his ray gun. He's got a few talents. Adversary 2. Pretty tough. He's known. He's been around for a little while. 2 ranks of inventor, because a Zemlian starts with rank 1 in inventors. I gave him a few talents that would fit his kind of profile. Inventor 2, mad inventor. And natural. He's a natural with mechanics and science. So once per session, he can re-roll 1 skill check from either skill. And as far as abilities, looking up some of the abilities, from his race, he has the brilliant. So once per session, Dr. War may spend a story point as an incidental. And if he does so, the next check he makes during that turn, he can count his ranks in that skill being equal to his intellect. Yeah. And as a Zemlian, he has the kit bashing ability, which means he starts with 1 rank in inventor. So quickly, he's got 2 ranks. I added 1 more. So when he makes a check to construct a new item or modify one, you can use this talent to add a number of boost dice equal to his ranks, so 2 more. In addition, he can try to reconstruct devices that he only heard of or briefly seen, but not actually seen the plans or schematics for.
Cool.
Pretty cool. The mad inventor, real quickly, once per session, make a mechanics check to try and cobble together the equivalent of any item using spare parts or salvage. Basing on the rarity of the item. Of course, there's a reference to that in the core rulebook at page 80. And final ability, since he's used to, he's not a fighter himself, but he's got these followers that he's got, mechanical followers. Ability called Rise, my follower. So once per session, he can make a hard mechanics check. And for each uncancelled success, one damaged or incapacitated rival within medium range heals half of its wounds and rejoins the encounter. And then it may act in the current round. So I kind of modified the Rise my minions. Instead of affecting minions, it's just rivals.
Okay.
There we go.
That's nasty.
And yeah.
That's really nasty, to be honest with you.
Good thing it's only once per session.
Yeah, once per session. Yeah. So, because with the minion version, it heals the entire minion group. They're like, that's a bit too powerful for a rival. Just maybe half its wounds would be more than enough.
Oh, there you go.
So,
good tweak.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. Thank you. And as far as equipment, I had a bit of fun. He's got called an Etheric toolkit. That could be anything from little scanners and a glove that has all kinds of little tools that built in or whatever. His heavy work apron, which gives him a +1 soak. His Etheric goggles, because when you're shrinking something, sometimes you want to see where the stuff you shrank ended up. So this allows him to easily spot etheric energies and the beings or things that have been recently affected by it. So if you're standing outside and you just shrunk a big Musator in tall grasses, well, you may want to find out where that Musator now is.
Nice.
And they also have a magnification option so we can zoom in and see them in detail.
Obviously.
Yeah. And finally, one thing I thought up last night, he's got an etheric radiation belt. So applying his shrink ray differently, he says, so when he's targeted by a combat check, every 2 threat that the opponent gets, he can be used to reduce the incoming damage by 1. A despair can be used to negate the damage entirely. Now, the sort of trapping around it is that the radiation surrounds the doctor's body, and it shrinks bullets and arrows as they come in contact with it. Or even energy beams, just reduces the energy beam to nothing. So until it becomes harmless. You can imagine an arrow being shrunk to a tiny little bit like a toothpick on his body. He's like, what the hell was that? Even melee weapons and brawl attacks can be momentarily shrunk while going through the field. So imagine your sword being shortened or become tiny, or even your fist. Like, what the hell? And
so, I'm sorry, but wrapping my head around that. So a successful melee attack that's going to do damage to the guy. You rolled a success. Let's say you rolled a 3 successes on a 5 damage melee attack. So you're going to do 8 damage to this guy. And let's say you had a triumph and a couple of and a despair. The guy completely negates all damage you did as part of your roll.
That could be tweaked, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then for the rest of the encounter, you lose your weapon as part of the despair.
Yeah,
this needs to be perhaps a story point.
Right. Okay. No, that could be. I left it open. I wanted to get your guys' feedback.
It seems too powerful as part of it. Basically negates the positive part of that player's role.
Yeah. Right.
And seems like it would be something. If I was a player and I went up against this guy and he did it to me, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm rage quitting right now.
Right.
Because,
okay.
Especially if I was Daryl, who rolls a shitload of despair. Poor guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or I don't know. Maybe the despair could be used to halve the damage, or reduce the damage to 1. I could see that.
That way. Well, if it reduces it to 1, he could still soak. Is that before soak or after soak?
Yeah, that would be before soak, I guess.
I'm thinking that because if it's before soak, then you're effectively negating the damage. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that maybe
unless it has pierce, unless it's a weapon with pierce, then it will negate his soak, so it could still get through.
Yeah, this may need to be
we may have
rethought.
to tweak the radiation belt, but I must say, I do like the idea of spending a couple of threat to reduce the damage by 1.
Mhm.
Right? And I like your trapping around that it's shrinking the bullets. Maybe it's range damage it does this to only. Maybe melee damage is, maybe if you're engaged and you're using like a melee weapon or fist, this is where it's kind of a little bit
too close for him
you're just
to
too close.
activate it.
Right? Or for it to really be, maybe you can be inside of it, you know, while you're punching them or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
You know what it makes me think of, Stefan?
Exclude the melee, or
what this makes me think of are the droids in Star Wars, where you have to roll the grenades into them to go through the shields, because the higher velocity bounces it off. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm wondering if the higher velocity, like ranged attacks, this would be basically effective against only. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
maybe I'll remove the whole despair thing and melee.
It could be 2 threat or a despair can be used. For every 2 threat or a despair can be used to reduce the incoming damage by 1, and of all ranged attacks, and it just be that simple.
Yeah.
Definitely a
neat item.
Yeah, I like the idea, but the mechanics may simply need to be reworked. So that's why I was hoping to get some feedback from you guys over it. It's not the final version, obviously. So.
Right, we've got for the play test and balancing issues, which we discuss, and then we also try those out and see how they work in an encounter.
Right.
So
that's it. So
I'm just glad this guy left his lab last.
Luckily, I didn't think of this radiation belt last time anyway. So, and then I got his motivations, rolled his motivations, which seemed to I rolled them randomly, but it seemed to all fit.
I know.
Desire for vengeance.
Yeah, that's weird how that happened.
Yeah. So his desire for vengeance against the Science Academy that rejected his theories.
Oh, that's brilliant.
A fear of failure. Dr. Orr wants to succeed. Will do anything to succeed. His strength is curiosity, especially about the deeper mysteries of etheric energy and Etherium. And, of course, his flaw is pride. Dr. Orr is certain that his discoveries will eventually be recognized.
It's just amazing when every single time I roll randomly for these, it just, just about every single time. They fit. Yeah. It's fun.
Doesn't for me. I'm the exact opposite. I roll random, I get shit that doesn't work.
So that was we'll tweak the belt, but otherwise I think that's the doctor. His power levels that I worked on with you combining all his skill arrays, his abilities, and so forth. Combat, not too big, just 3 combat power level. Social 1, again, he's not the great debater.
Nope.
But overall 8.
Yeah. I wouldn't even be against you adding a couple more of the knowledge skills to this guy. Putting a couple ranks and a couple other knowledge skills like multiverse. Which might not be his thing, but I think
might be useful because I think
he'd know.
Yeah, because those crystals are not found necessarily on his homeworld. He has to explore. So,
okay.
Yeah, we could definitely add that. So I'll make a note of that. Good. Yeah. So that's Dr. War, and then he's got a couple of servants that he uses. One that we've seen at the last advantageous threat, but only in a small quantity. But he's got these Scorpbot swarms. So these are. Merci, chérie. Sorry, my husband just brought me some dessert, some homemade tiramisu. I can
spoiled rotten.
Yep. So these Scorpbots, He creates them in his lab, in mass quantities. Then he shrinks them. So thousands of these small robots, and he shrinks them down to a very tiny size, small enough that he can fit inside almost a grenade about the size of a goose egg receptacle. And then when he's ready to deploy them, he just presses the button, tosses it, and a short burst of growth energy is released, and they become a swarm.
Like robotic Pokemon.
A little bit. But instead of just one Pokemon, it's a lot of tiny little Scortbots.
Scortbot swarm, I choose you.
Yes. So they've only have a brawn of 1, agility of 3, so fairly nimble, and the rest of their stats or characteristics are also just 1. I didn't give them any soak, even though they have brawn of 1. It's like, no, they're fairly fragile individually. But as a swarm, they're still pretty tough at 36 wounds. Kind of based them off of the, since their rivals are not minions, off the scorpion swarms in Realms of Tirnoff.
Okay.
So they're the 2 skills that they have. They don't need many, just coordination and brawl, which I based off of agility for them instead of brawn. And the only weapon they've got is claws and stingers. Big combination, and only 1 damage, critical 3. And they have pierce 3. Although that could be modified maybe a little bit. And they've got a bit of a toxin included, so they can spend 2 advantage to inflict 3 strain through the constant little prickling sensation that the target suffers.
Dang.
Yeah. No talons, since they're a swarm, and no gear as such. It's just their pincers and stingers. The abilities, though, they're silhouette 2 as a swarm. They're fairly large. They have the swarm ability, which means they half the damage dealt to them before soak, unless the weapon has the blast or burn quality, which can still be used regardless if the quality is activated. Cool. So even if you don't get enough advantages, you can still apply the blast or burn to them. They're mechanical, so like the drones that Chris created, they don't need to breathe, eat, or drink. Vacuum and underwater is not a problem, etc. And I added venomous. Enemies that are wounded by a scorpion swarm, they must make a hard resilience check as an out-of-turn incidental or suffer 4 additional wounds. And then they must check again on their next turn if they generate a despair. But their claws and stingers only do 1. And the final one is they're all over me. So enemies who start their turn engaged with this character or the swarm lose their free maneuver.
Damn,
they're being old. Yeah. But only have 2 ranks in a combat skill, which gives them 2 yellow, 1 green. Not terribly large amounts, but still decent. They still might get a success or 2.
So then, let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
So, so if they're wounded by a scorpion swarm, they're venomous, which does wounds, more wounds. But the toxin is what just gives them strain. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it. So it's like just little scratches that will give some strain as you're being pricked here and there all over. But you might get a more decent lethal dose if you actually get wounded by them.
Okay.
And finally, since sometimes you might need more actual muscle, I created the Ogre, which stands for Etheric Guardian Robotic Entity. So this acts as his personal bodyguard. The Ogre is easily transported due to the Doctor's shrink ray technology again. He shrinks it again to the size of a grenade, kind of implement when not needed, but when required, when he requires its protection, he just simply presses the growth burst button and tosses it, and then it resumes its full size. So this is also a rival. Brawn of 4, agility and cunning of 2. The rest is 1. It has some heavy armor plating, so giving it a +2 to soak, giving it 6 soak, and 18 wounds.
Okay.
No defense, just clunky armor kind of thing. So not sleek or anything, and he's not dodgy. The skills he's got are a couple of ranks in perception, some scanners that it's got, resilience, it's fairly tough. Specialized mainly in brawling with its one big claw hand, and its other arm houses two weapons integrated into its right arm, which uses gunnery. Both of them are pretty much heavy weapons once he's at full size. Only adversary 1. That's what I gave him. Mechanical. That's it. Again, no other equipment other than the armor and the weapons. So his weapons, just the left claw / hand. 7 damage, 3 crit. That knockdown quality. So it can knock opponents prone if it gets 2 advantages. Plus 1 advantage per silhouette above 1. So if it wants to knock big opponents down, it needs a bit more advantages. That's its melee weapon, basically. And its other hand, and its other arm, the right one, it has 2 weapons. One is an auto cannon. 8 damage, 3 crit medium range. It's inaccurate. Its whole arm is a bit clunky. So it gets a setback dice. Pierce 2 and auto fire. And then finally has a rocket launcher as well for longer range. So at long range, damage 12, 4 crits. But it has limited ammo, only 5 shots. It's slow firing, so it has to get ready before it has to spend an action. A maneuver, I believe it is, to...
slow firing requires a round to refresh.
So it's every other... No. So firing 1 would be one every other round, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I was mixing it up with prepare, which is a
So you expect combat with this thing to take 10 rounds?
Well, maybe not 10 rounds, but those are dead. It's not a super advanced kind of robot. That's why I wanted to give it a few drawbacks, but it does do a lot of damage. It has blast 6 as well.
Oh, I got that. I'm looking at your limited ammo and slow firing. It would take 10 rounds for it to run out of rocket launcher. You could probably reduce the limited ammo to either 2 or 3.
Yeah, I could. I was just going by the illustration that I had found, it failed to upload into the RPG sessions, but it had 5 basically ports.
Gotcha. I didn't see the image, otherwise I wouldn't have questioned that.
Yeah,
no, but it could still. But since there's no image, we could scale it down to 2 or 3. That would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's cool.
That's about it.
Nice.
And its power ratings that I calculated, not terribly high. 4 for combat, 1 for, which is the minimum for social, and 2 for general. Basically, mainly because it's mechanical.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Nasty.
Yeah, I can
both
be
of
nasty.
your rivals, you didn't list it for your Scorp bots, but both of them came out with that same score. That's interesting.
Yeah. Even though I calculated differently, I was using different characteristic arrays or skill arrays and other stuff. Ended up being the same. I was like, oh, peculiar. But that's pretty much how it tabulated up.
Very good.
So there you go. We got Dr. War and his followers.
Yeah. Nasty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, glad he left the room.
Yeah.
Glad he left us alone.
So I've done the minions of our big bad from the setting. I have not fleshed out the big bad herself, but I did a little blurb a while back, and I don't remember if I ever read it on the show. But basically, I've created this big bad. We kind of talked about it. It was this. We wanted it to be like this swarm, right? Well, I kind of went back to the drawing board, and so we created it. It's called Yith, YTH. Yith is a roiling world of chaos and primordial ooze, a.k.a. she's a giant oozy planet.
Nice.
Yith is a sentient world, ancient beyond legend. She achieved her sentience long before the first multiverse trekking races developed stone tools. She ruled her own corner of the multiverse with absolute certainty, and that she was the all-powerful, all-knowing goddess of all things. Using her descendants and basically pieces of her own essence, the Yith legions, to inhabit, mutate, and control every creature they encounter. If it had a mind, she could control it, and if it had a body, she would shape it in her own will, her own image. So then, there's more to it than that, but that's basically Yith. And so I have created her legions, so to speak. I have a minion, a rival, and a nemesis. Now, minion is simple. I just wanted to mention them because the nemesis includes them in her stat block. But we don't have to go over them other than to say that they're a simple minion with 3 wounds. So a minion group of 3 would have 9 wounds. They're probably going to be the most common enemy you're going to see in they're small ooze-like worms that project a shadowy humanoid form when not inhabiting a humanoid host. And they're called Yith grubs, and they constitute the majority of her army. Pretty simple, straightforward minion group. They have one ability, which is Inhabit Host, and as an action, this character may attempt a mental intrusion skill check opposed to invade and inhabit the body of one unconscious character in engaged range, and it may be maintained as an incidental each round. If the target is a player character and regains consciousness while inhabited, Yith Grub must succeed on this check every round to maintain it or be ejected to a chosen point at engaged range. So it doesn't take away the free will of a player once they would regain consciousness. So it'd be kind of interesting if the Yith Grub inhabited somebody and then your companions have to try and heal the thing that the enemy that's attacking them.
Especially if it's a player itself.
It's a player character.
Instead of a character. No, he's a player.
I wrote player character in the stat block. I said player.
Yeah.
Because I'm an idiot.
No, you're
and you like to pick that out whenever I say it.
I'd love to.
All right. So then the nemesis I spoke of is the Brood Mothers of Yith. The Brood Mothers of Yith are ectoplasm-enshrouded psionic extensions of Yith's power and will, rarely encountered without a cadre of Yith Grub parasites. Brood Mothers are the generals and progenitors of the armies of Yith. With a standard 3 in brawn, agility, and presence, a intellect of 5, cunning and willpower of 4, they are formidable right away with their stats.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
They are supposed to be kind of, I based them on the mastermind type and mixed the stats around a little bit.
Cool.
So they don't have any extra armor because they are made of ectoplasm, so they just have the soak of 3 from their brawn. They are at 20 wounds, which I think I gave them a little bit. I gave them hardy, and they have 24 strain, which I gave them the big boost to strain.
Cool.
Right.
And then I also considered them rather. Their equipment is going to give them some ranged and melee defense. Moving into the skills, they have mental discipline, which is a skill we created for the setting, which is the defense against mental intrusion. Resilience and vigilance. They have several ranks in each of those. Psionics. They have 4 ranks in psionics and 5 intellect, so they are formidable psionicists. They have coercion and leadership. Knowledge multiverse, because they travel around the multiverse. They also have metaphysics, which is their skill for their psionics, the knowledge skill tied to that. It basically took the mage stat block, tweaked it, added in the crime boss, and tweaked that a little bit to give it like the leadership. And those 2 stat blocks, with a little bit of tweaking, is what I did in a nutshell. And then cool. I've built in for weapon attacks, I've built in 2 spells. Nice. The first being the Tendrils of Agony, which is a 7 damaging attack because of the implement that they have that gives them bonus to damage. It's going to do base damage 5 based on their stat. The spell effects, its difficulty is hard because it has close combat, additional target for free, and impact in the Tendrils of Agony. That's going to give it the knockdown and disorient 4 qualities. Disorient rating equal to its ranks in metaphysics.
Ooh. Gotcha. Nice.
Ouch.
So pretty nasty. These tendrils that reach out to. This is what they use for their melee attack, and then the next attack, their ranged attack, which is a shrieking death. It basically looks like a shrieking skull with teeth of shadow and ectoplasm. It also will do 7 damage, and both of these attacks, by the way, have a crit of only Triumph.
Gotcha. Let's give it the deadly quality then.
I did not give it deadly, no. I prefer to keep the difficulties down pretty low. This spell has range added to it. It has the poisonous rating, so poisonous of 4 equal to its ranks in metaphysics, and it has the additional target added for free. So this gives it because of the poisonous rating, gives it a daunting difficulty as a spell.
Yeah, so pretty tough already. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So down to talents, I gave them just 2, but the 2 I gave them are pretty badass. Adversary 2, which makes them no slouch, and then Flicker Step. When this character casts a spell using this psionics skill, they may use this talent to spend 3 advantage or a triumph to instantly vanish and reappear at any location within long range.
That could be nasty.
So they can flicker step around a battlefield and become quite the harrying, dangerous caster that they are.
Yep.
Abilities would be the ominous reputation, right out of the abilities in the expanded player's guide, which when an opponent targets this adversary with a check, the opponent suffers 2 strain.
Oh, just right out the bat.
Right. I could have given them terrifying, but I thought this was even better.
It's just an auto crap. I'm encountering this thing. I have to look at it to aim at it, or I have to be right next to it.
And then the spawn Brewed. So the Brewed, which is what they would call the minions. As an action, this character can make a hard psionics check to spawn a minion group of 3 Yith grubs at engaged range and suffer 2 wounds to do so.
All right.
And I thought about putting the once per encounter caveat on there, which I still would give it a shot. But
you know,
I don't know. They're
an
taking
action.
2 wounds
And it's an
action to do it.
It's like their
And
turn
it's an
to
action,
do it.
yeah.
So, and they have to roll a check. So I thought it was a good balance. You know, something they would basically they use their flicker step ability to get away. Then they use this spawn Brewed, send out minions to protect themselves.
Well, that would have to be the next round, though, because
right. Exactly.
Or maybe they do this check. Would this be considered a spell that they're casting?
Nope. This is a hard psionics check.
So it's not a flicker. So you wouldn't be able to use flicker step off.
Nope. They would cast a spell. They would use their flicker step to evade, and then they would create the minions and send the minions in. Kind of tactics wise.
Next round.
Yeah. The very next round, they'd use that once they got away to long range. You know. Anyhow,
you know what, Tony? I would actually consider adding that ability to this nemesis where they can go a second time in a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Just for you know what I mean?
That would make them. That would make them much more formidable as an opponent. You're talking about
because I'm looking at it. I mean, combat-wise, yeah, their attacks are nasty, but they have to be either engaged or in short range.
Talking about the one step ahead ability once per round. After an opponent performs an action or maneuver, you may spend a story point to have this adversary perform an action or maneuver as an out-of-turn incidental. That would add 2 to its combat rating. But that's not a bad idea. We'll have to play test that. Because if they're not going to be able to use all of their abilities in one combat, then you're not really highlighting the nemesis. So, but given that they have 20 wounds and they have some supernatural healing and other things, they may be around long enough to use the ones they have pretty regularly. So we'd have to play test that. But it's not. I'm not against putting that in there. I almost did.
What's the supernatural healing?
So
you might not have gotten through all the gear. Okay.
I did not get through the gear.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they're a gear. They have the magically enhanced robes, which is basically they create that out of ectoplasm right from the get-go. Gives them 3 defense. They have the essence of Yith, an augmenting magical aura. When this character casts a spell, may add the additional target and additional summon effects without increasing the difficulty. In addition, attack spells cast by this character increase the base damage by 2, which is why. So this basically their implement.
Right.
And then last, Mother's Caress, a supernatural healing item. Once per session, this character heals wounds with a healing spell. Increase the wounds healed by 3.
Gotcha. Now, would the robes, would those be named Robes of Yith?
I needed to just change that.
Okay.
I wrote it multiple times, and I obviously didn't give the full correct version here. But that's pretty much it. They don't have desire, fear, strength, or flaw motivations, even as a nemesis, because they're more of a generic nemesis. And their desire and it's pretty much to destroy all life. That's not.
Yeah, it's all the same. Yeah,
and you really don't need to know that stuff because you really won't be parlaying, right?
Probably not.
And doing like a social encounter with these things? Probably not.
They're not designed for social encounters. So sitting pretty nasty at 8 across the board on all of the ratings. These are definitely a story arc villain.
Yeah.
And if I were to give them that ability, they'd have a 10-8-8. So even nastier. So yeah, we'll see. I could take the Spawn Brewed and change it to a summon spell effect, and then they would get the additional summon added for free. So it wouldn't cost them 2 wounds. Instead, it would be 2 strain as a spell.
And you know what? I mean, it actually. I mean, because
or I could just change it to a maneuver.
Yeah. Without even making the check, right?
Right. I could just change it to a maneuver. As a maneuver, they may spawn a minion group by taking 2 wounds.
Would you want to use a story point as because you're not making as a maneuver without a check, story point and a couple wounds, maybe, or no?
Yeah, that's workable. So we'll have to play test that. That was one I wrote, and I could see where it wouldn't work in the ways you're mentioning. But that was them, and then I created also a rival, which was. I think that's my piece de resistance, really, for my Yith legions. The Shadow Ghasts of Yith. The Shadow Ghasts of Yith are her scouts and spies, blending stealth, guile, and mental intrusion. Shadow Ghasts appear as if out of a memory. Most people who only experience their presence as a feeling of déjà vu or a cold shudder. Those that have encountered them before, however, will never forget them or their painful, probing mental intrusions. So the Shadow Ghast of Yith is pretty formidable stealth creature. They have a brawn of 2, agility, intellect of 3, cunning, willpower, and presence of 1. They have their simple soak of 2 and 10 wounds. Did not give them any enhancements there. Gave them the camouflage ability because they're natural shadowy camouflage, as if they are appearing out of a memory, which gives them a ranged defense of 1 and a melee defense of 2.
Nice.
And sorry, that's backwards. I got it backwards on here. It's supposed to be melee defense of 1, a ranged of 2. Yeah, I got it backwards on my stat line. Thought it looked wrong. And then, skill-wise, they have a cool with 1 rank. They have mental intrusion with 1 rank. Multiple ranks. Sorry,
5 ranks, right? Yeah,
it's 5 ranks because they have a presence of 1. Perception, they have 4 ranks, and agility, 3 ranks.
4 ranks.
Streetwise, survival, all 2 ranks. Brawl is going to be 2 ranks, and then their deception is going to be 2 ranks, and their cool was actually 2 ranks. So it gives them
their stealth would have been 4 ranks, and their brawl would be 3 ranks too.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Nasty. Dude.
Still nasty.
Yeah.
They have 1 attack. It's a Toothy Maw, which has simply the vicious quality and a crit of 3. Damage is their brawn plus 1, so a grand total of 3. Not tremendously damaging. However, they have Adversary 1 as a talent. But here is where they get their meat and potatoes in their abilities. I gave them the Ghostly ability. This adversary may move over, through terrain, including doors or walls, without penalty, and have the damage dealt to this adversary before applying soak, unless the attack came from a magical or supernatural source, such as a spell, a blessed weapon, or another incorporeal creature.
Nice. I like that. Makes those 10 wounds not so little, huh?
No, and that 2 soak.
Yeah.
And then the last is the Memory Eater ability. When this adversary performs a successful mental intrusion on a target, the target suffers 2 strain that ignores soak, as its memories are painfully consumed. Also, on a successful mental intrusion, this adversary may spend 1 advantage to heal 1 wound. And finally, If a character exceeds its strength threshold due to the mental intrusions of a shadow ghast, it will have no memories of encountering the creature.
That's great.
Yeah.
I got a question. About the one advantage to heal one wound, is it just that? What if it has multiple advantages? Will it heal multiple
It can.
wounds?
Yes,
Okay.
it can.
So one advantage per one wound. Okay, cool. I don't want to run into these things. These things seem so bad.
Maybe you have already. You don't know.
Exactly. I might have. I don't even remember. I don't even remember, Tony.
So,
This is a nice.
yeah.
This is a nice rival.
Yeah, nice
Mid-range
group
rival.
of-
with 4 combat, 1 social, and 5 general, because these are the spies. They like to mentally intrude.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't think playing in the Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse would be creepy and frightening,
It can
it
be.
is now. It
Yeah.
is now.
You
Yeah.
gotta
Whether
have
you
some
remember
reason
it or not.
to drink.
I know. Exactly.
My minions are my creations are why people drink.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't remember why I'm drinking, but I just feel like I have to.
Yep.
I have this strange feeling. I'm forgetting something. Well done,
And of course, I had previously on another occasion done some of the other adversaries. I did another entire adversary group on another occasion for, and I'll just mention them in passing. That was the Eelmen of Verlantis that I had done way back when, which are a aggressive species of eelmen that like to inhabit the various oceans of both Aquilion, the one human world of Aquilion, and their own world of Verlantis. And I had like a minion, 2 rivals, and a nemesis for that. And then I had started on creating one called the Throg, which is an immortal being of immense power, but simple at heart. Instead of seeking to dominate others and destroy those that have done it wrong, the Throg simply leaps from realm to realm, seeking culinary delights.
Oh.
And I will come out with the Throg. That's going to be more of a social creature.
Yeah, I remember reading up a little bit about that while I was going through our various notes of the Epsilon Eclipse. Like, oh yeah, okay, I'll add. I copied and pasted my own adversaries into that document, our shared document.
So one of the culinary delights could be what, flayed mosasaur or something.
Could be just about anything,
Right.
As long as you come up with a good recipe for him, he won't devour you.
Nice.
Yeah.
It would be beer-basted Norse ribs, right?
Yeah.
Norse ribs.
Chocolate covered Zolhatar.
Well,
So spicy and
hard
chocolate.
legs, yeah, or whatever the crickets, right? the insect
Well,
dudes.
the Zolhatar are the ones with the that spew fire as well. So it's like, ooh,
Nice.
spicy chocolate.
So we're also going to have in here, we're going to have stats for the keeper, which is the barkeeper. We'll have stats for other named NPCs or adversaries, as we call them. And we'll have a few more factional enemies. But you can also incorporate anything from any other setting. You want to bring over a dragon from Terranoth, or you want to bring over some mercenaries from Shadow of the Beanstalk, or a demon from Stefan's Dragonstar.
Right.
Yeah.
You can pretty much bring anything into this setting.
Maybe
It's supposed to be a kitchen.
maybe a witch from the Inquisition setting.
Or a witch from Keyforge. They've got several witches in there
Yeah,
too.
which was there. Yeah. I've got my.
Go ahead. You got your what?
Yeah, in Dragonstar, you got the Rockstar Demon band that Tony created for my Dragonstar setting. Why not?
Or even our crew of glacier ice runners from from Salvage, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Point is, you
Yeah.
can bring in
Anything.
just about anything from any setting into this setting as an adversary. So we're not going to have a tremendous amount of adversaries in here.
Yeah.
No. You can pick and choose a lot of things from those other settings that already exist, and sometimes just tweak them.
Yeah.
You know.
So look forward to the bare bones version of Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse coming soon to a document storage space near you.
Yeah,
That's true.
As we finish it up and put
hopefully,
the nails on it before we send it out.
Available across the multiverse, all good taverns.
That's right.
Chris still has to come up with several drink recipes for it, which he said he was going to do.
Did
And,
I?
yeah.
I totally did. I totally said that a year and a half ago when we
Might have to.
when we brainstormed this thing, didn't I? I remember.
Yeah,
Now.
we might have to work together for that.
Totally.
None of us expected the apocalypse to take this long.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, but we do want to have, at least something that people can play with now that we're pretty much done.
Yeah.
And so we'll come out with that, maybe even our own little advantage and threat chart, which includes drinking rules for adults. You can spend a despair that the GM rolls to make him drink.
I'll tell you, I must say, that was pretty fun when I was at Cabin Con, though it was the D Shift 7D. Anytime I rolled a damn fumble, I had to do a shot. My God. 8 in one day.
We played in that narrative dice. I mean, Daryl would always be drunk. Despair? I'll take a shot. Despair again.
Definitely we'd have to put a disclaimer in there. Only play this way if your liver can handle it.
That's true. So we could call him Drunk Despair Daryl. Triple D threat.
Only if he ever plays the game. But
yeah.
Nice.
All right, well, that's our main subject. We do have On the Slab coming up.
Right, welcome to On the Slab. This is a segment of our show where Tony chooses an adversary from one of the books of Genesys, and we dissect it bit by bit until there's nothing left. No, and then we rebuild it again because we have the technology. So what's on the slab today, Tony?
Well, I decided to mix it up or dire it up. So I have... In the Expanded Player's Guide, we have a plethora of critters that are simple. The bear, the big cat, the bull, all these animals. And then we have some that are mixed into various other settings. But in the Expanded Player's Guide, in the Tier 5 Talents section, we're given the clue on how to make a dire animal.
Yes.
So I'm going to go over that, and that is the talent itself reads you have to have the animal companion talent, and it says you have to have at least one rank into primal skill, and the animal companion you have bonded through animal companion talent increases its brawn by 1 to a maximum of 5, its wound threshold by 4. If it is a nemesis already, it increases its strain threshold by 4. And if it was a minion or a rival, it becomes a nemesis and gains a strain threshold of 6. If it is silhouette 0, it becomes silhouette 1. If your character chooses to increase either its agility or willpower and by 1 to a maximum of 5, and its brawl, discipline, perception, and survival skills by 1 to a maximum of 5. So, if you want to create let's just go to the bear on page 86. If you want to create a dire bear, its brawn will become 5. You can give it a willpower of 3. its wound threshold is going to become 25. It's going to gain a strain threshold of 6. Its silhouette is not going to change. It's going to stay silhouette 2, but you could theoretically raise it 1 to silhouette 3. I don't see a reason why not raising the silhouette, but that really would fall down to GM's discretion. The damage increases on its attacks based on the fact that its brawn went up, and its skills are going to all go up with all those skills listed. And there you have a dire bear.
Nice.
You could do that with any of these: the shark, the elephant, the wolf. All of those are doable.
Dire badger. You can call it a honey badger.
That's right.
Give a fuck. Right.
That's right.
Or a Tasmanian devil.
Yep. Yep. And you know what, Tony? With the bear, I would totally make it a silhouette 3. You know why? Because it'll be 2 silhouettes larger. So you'll get bonuses to hit it. It'll be harder to hit little things, and it just makes it just that much bigger.
Yeah.
Harder to knock down. Harder to knock down, too.
But you're not just limited to animals on this. You could do, and I went to Realms of Terranoth to page 258. I go over to the carnivorous flora entry there.
Oh,
big,
nice.
Carnivorous plant. You could make it a dire carnivorous plant.
That's great.
By adding these stats to it. Or the giant snake. You could make it a dire snake with your titanoboa.
Yeah.
And both of those are on that page, 258 of Realms of Terranoth. Point is, you could do that with pretty much any animal. And in like a fantasy setting, you want to create a nasty version of an animal. Just adding the dire effect to it would work perfectly, and including a science fantasy setting like Keyforge. If you wanted to have a scientifically manipulated creature that has been mutated, take a couple, like you could add the mutations to it in Keyforge, or you could just dire it up.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you go over to Shadow of the Beanstalk, Jin Techie is out there gene splicing all kinds of shit.
Oh, heck
Why
yeah,
couldn't
dude.
they just gene splice something to be a dire creature?
Oh, yeah.
And have it just be this freaking gene spliced dire whatever? You could do it with the rats, the swarm,
dire rats,
the rad rats that are in Shadow of the Beanstalk.
Oh, yeah, dude. You could totally have like a dire version of the rat be like a big nemesis and have like your rat swarms be its followers. And that'd be
I am the Rat King.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a dire form. Has been irradiated and it's intelligent.
Or just apply that effect to something like a drone of a mechanical drone, like let's use your Scorp bots earlier. You've got this Scorp bot rival, this swarm. Maybe he's created a large version, or he hits it with an enlarge ray, and now the swarm of Scorp bots is now a dire swarm, and it's just going to become that much nastier.
He had it. He had it on grow instead of shrink on accident, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, like at the last Advantageous last show, well, I used one of your guys' despair to have one of those Scorp bots grow a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that was mine.
Instead of being, So that could have been I could apply the dire animal, the dire robot. It's bigger and nastier.
That's true.
Or in the case of any kind of mechanical monstrosity, you could just apply that to it as a GM in advance and call it the advanced version, the 2.0 version of that robot that someone built.
Yeah, exactly. With powerful, core reactor and whatever modular bits that make it more dire. But it's harder carapace armor.
Mm-hmm.
The key is that it's with a creature or non-humanoid monstrosity that you're doing this with. You could even do it with D&D type monsters like a D-Shift-7D type monsters like a basilisk or something like that. You could come up with a much larger version that would be a nemesis, and it's an easy way to create a quick nemesis version of any monster.
Displacer beast or
right. And again, it's not my usual on the slab, but I just thought I saw this talent, and I had this thought that this is a quick way using this talent. Apply the guideline that's given in that talent to various creatures as a GM on the fly, and bam, you've got nemesis versions of hundreds of different adversaries.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Very well
very
done,
nice.
Tony. Very nice.
Yep.
So that is on the slab.
Right, so welcome back to our favorite section of the show, which is Advantageous Threats, where, of course, we build, roll, and narrate the die results of some sample skill checks. But we're doing it a little differently this time because we left it almost literally as a cliffhanger on the last episode of episode 69.
Or ruler hanger, in this case.
Yes. Yeah. Table hanger. And we all agreed that the moment was tense enough and interesting enough that we wanted to see if we could finish that encounter. We did 3 rounds last time. And Detective Rafa, the Minotaur, was hanging precariously over a ruler that's hanging over the edge of the lab table, while Big Joe is standing on the other end of the ruler.
Right.
And because tried to do a fancy maneuver, and unfortunately a despair was rolled. So
the ruler turned underneath us, and you're now on the edge.
You had still managed to get your maneuver partially successful. It's just that it threw your partner just over that edge. And
he rolled a despair.
So
I didn't. Not my fault. Sorry.
All right, someone did anyway. I don't care who did. Someone did.
The detective did.
We're playing by the ruler of cool here. I know.
Yes, it's the ruler of cool. It's all good.
I'm Canadian, so it's a metric ruler. So.
Oh my gosh, Stefan. Jesus, a fucking metric ruler of cool? That's not cool.
That's more precise.
It is for the rest of the fucking world.
Hey.
So
they
we
do
have
say duck, duck, grey duck here in Minnesota, too. Go figure that shit out. Good Lord. That's dumb.
Because you live in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm not from here, though. I play Duck, Duck, Goose. Okay?
Yeah.
So, didn't do Duck, Duck, Grey Duck. I was giving my wife a hard time about that the other day. She was trying to explain it. I'm like, baby, don't explain it. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay. This is Advantageous Threats, not...
Yes.
This is what it is. So... All right, so to a little further recapping, 2 score bots are on the floor, 2 are on the table, 1 is blasted into bits, and 1 is a little larger than the rest. But they were partially immobilized because of some various fumes and things that have been spilled all over the table reacting. But they're getting closer and it's getting dangerous. So we start off the 4th round with a PC slot. So who wants to go next?
I want to get off this edge.
Okay, come. Get off the edge.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to add an additional element, since you also told me, Tony, last time your character is psionics, but you can only affect organic beings. So while you're hanging precariously, you see on the other little ways off on the other side of the lab, a weird creature that's 6-legged, looks like a long-haired tabby cat but instead of being, let's say, orange, it's various shades of green, has 6 legs and big orange eyes, and it's looking hesitantly like between you and the little bots on the floor. It's not sure which one it should play with.
Get off the ruler first.
All right.
Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there. It's
okay, you got to get off the ruler, eh?
I'm going to maneuver to get off the ruler and onto the table.
All right.
Is that difficult terrain? Do I need to spend 2 maneuvers to make the...
I'd be tempted to make you do a coordination or athletics to get back on.
Well, that'd be coordination. You know, you're balancing.
Shut up. Let the GM decide.
Well, whichever one is better for you at this point.
Oh my God, he's so nice. What?
I can use muscle to really get flip himself up.
So I'm rolling to move?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rule of cool. Let's go with a maneuver. With a maneuver to get up and back onto the table.
Just a single maneuver. Okay. So then I can take my action and I can... Jeez, the swarms between me and it. You know what? I'm going to try and start off with coordinated assault.
Okay.
You go left, I go right. Didn't work because I almost got knocked off the table.
Right.
So in my friend's head, it's, you go high, I'll go low. And I'm going to try and charge into the swarm, but I'm going to get down on all fours and charge forward with my horns into the squirt bots. I'm just going to start trying to hit them with my horns because my arm is all buggered up still. So
gotcha.
Not drawing that gun and shooting crazy with my...
So coordinated assault, I can immediately move with you then? Is that basically what that is, right?
No, it's going to... So coordinated assault, I'm going to add a boost die to all combat checks you make based on my ranks in leadership. So you're going to get 2 boost dice to your next check.
Nice. I'm good with that.
So,
and you've got 2 story points on your side and 1 on the GM side.
Okay, 2 and 1. Got it. So I'm going to use my horns, brawl check. So that's going to be... I don't have enough green dice, so...
Nope.
All right, there they are. Okay, I have my 4 green dice. Average difficulty. Do they have any ranged or melee defense?
Yeah, I believe they do. They have 1.
Melee defense of 1. I'm trying to run low, but I've got a buggered up arm, so I'm kind of off balance. So I'm going to go ahead and apply another setback die for myself.
That's good.
But I'm going to spend 2 strain and aim this.
Okay.
Line myself up beforehand,
All right.
Scuff the hind leg and charge.
There you go.
All right. GM, are you happy with my pool? I am.
Yeah, I am as well.
All right. First of all, I did not roll any successes.
Oh.
So I just end up with 3 advantage.
We suck at this game. That's what we've been rolling last time.
But my 3 advantage is that they saw me charge, knock some off the table. The 3 advantage, they kind of scatter, allowing me to take a maneuver through the group.
Okay.
So an extra maneuver for me for free, if you don't mind.
No, that's a possibility.
I know it pushes past the 2 maneuvers max, but
it does. Yeah.
It does, but it's cool.
Okay, so I'll just charge right on by them. They kind of scatter, and I just run right through the group.
Cool.
All right.
Moving me from the edge of the table onto the table. Now I'm at medium range from the ray that we're trying to get to?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's it for me.
All right. So we've got an enemy slot now. So those 2 will regroup as you plow through them, or they manage to extricate themselves from whatever they were immobilizing them, and they'll scurry after you as a as a minion group of 2 this time.
Nice.
So Brawl, got a yellow, 2 green. Basic 2 purple for a melee or a brawl check, basically. Do you have any defense?
Armored trench coat gives me 1 melee defense.
And they do not have anything else. It's not accurate. Oh, it is accurate, though. Boost. All right. I'm happy with this. So a yellow.
I'm not. Upgrade that crap.
All right. That I don't mind. So red and a purple. All right. And now a blue and a green. There we go. So go a couple of blanks. Real quick. Good grief. I got 1 success and 2 threat. So it does 5 damage. It's not piercing.
I'll soak 4 of that. Take 1.
All right, but 2 threat.
To them.
Yep.
them?
2 threat. No, so sorry. I mixed up the symbols. Those are those are threat. Those are not failures. Yeah. Sorry, it's late.
Okay. So 2 threat. I'm saying they're scrambling over each other to try to get to me. They forget about Chris.
Nice.
It's character.
Yeah.
Because they thought, oh, I got down on all 4s. Ha ha ha! They've got me. I'm down on their level. They're scrambling over each other to get me. They completely forget target acquisition.
On Joseph.
On Big Joe.
Big Joe.
So,
all right.
So
I'm going to say that he's going to get a boost die, basically, because he's attacking them as if he's a brand new target.
Because basically those fumes probably are affecting a bit their memory programs. All right. Excellent.
Nice.
PC slot. Big Joe.
Okay, Big Joe, PC slot.
Big Joe.
He's got the great axe in his hand.
Yeah.
He's looking up at that freaking trigger on the damn shrink ray. Okay, get in line with it, and I'm gonna try and maneuver myself so that I'm in a line with the shrink ray, me,
hopefully,
and then the detective there. So, do we have a story point on our side?
I have 1 left. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna use that because that puts me at 2 yellow.
All right.
A purple because it's only short range to do the move to do the move thing. And then the 2 boost dice from the detective.
Right.
From his
coordinated
assault.
Coordinated acts, yes.
And a 3rd one from them forgetting about you.
And for them forgetting about me. So that's what I've got there, Stefan.
And I'm spending story point because, it's...
Because psionics. Okay, here we go. Because shrink ray, yeah. Holy buckets of oats. Finally, a goddamn success. Okay, so I have 3 successes, 1 advantage. So,
finally, yeah.
I'd like to use the advantage to make sure it is... I've moved it so that it is in line with us, so that it hits us, and I got 3 successes on the move to trigger it. So, shrink ray gets activated.
At the right moment, so at least one advantage to make sure it doesn't hit any of these scorp bots.
If 1 is enough for that, at least it'll miss 1 with the advantage.
At least miss the minion group that was around.
Okay.
The detective.
But it might hit the big one though. That's with us on the table. All right.
No.
Okay.
So you move. No longer have to worry about the ruler. The ruler flips and falls towards the floor. Mm-hmm. You leap, slide down a notepad, click. The ray starts powering up. Greenish energy, lights up around the crystals, and things start spinning. And just as you throw yourself in the ray's path, and washes over you and Detective Rafa.
Nice.
So you clatter over the table, and then you hear more things scurrying, and
okay.
metal squealing as you suddenly look around. It's like, oh crap! That one of the scorebots is also bigger.
Yeah. Do I still have did I need to use a maneuver to do that?
At least, yeah.
At least
to
one.
move.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
maneuver.
am going to spend 2 strain to do a second maneuver, which puts my strain up pretty high. 8 of 11 strain right now. However, I am doing the defensive stance. So as we kind of get off the table, taking a defensive stance, which I will suffer 1 more strain. Oh, so any melee attacks are upgraded by 1 on me until my next turn. So
all right,
I'm done.
Hello then. Oh, so this scorebots is like occupying all the space between the 2 work tables. It's pushed at a bench. It snapped some of the legs in twain like paper.
Mm-hmm. The table we were on, it probably just crushes it. Right?
Yeah. And it just turns on you guys. And let's see, who is it going to attack?
So does this mean the shrink ray on the table falls over and is on and is making the whole big in the room?
We'll see. We'll see how
we'll see what that goes. If you have any threats or despairs or whatever.
Yeah, try not to make things worse for us, Chris.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to make it better for us.
I think it'll try to attack the Minotaur. It seems to be the threat. It registered that as a threat as it scattered the other 2 bots. Mm-hmm. So it'll fire its laser across the room and try to hit you. So 2 yellow and a green and a blue because it's accurate.
Range defensive 1.
Range defense 1. It's at short range. 1 blue, 1 purple.
I'm on all 4s.
Nah, it doesn't really matter.
Kind of a low profile.
Yeah, low profile, man.
AKA another setback time, maybe? Yeah.
Okay, fine. Another setback dice, but I'm spending a story point to upgrade my...
Well, they're all on our side. We win.
That's right.
No, there's still 1 on my side.
Oh, okay.
Well, spend 1 if you want there, Tony. Maybe he could get a despair and he'll take out 1 of his minions.
I'm gonna upgrade that myself.
All right. So there we go. Back there. So now it's a purple, a red instead of a purple. There we go. Let's go. Ooh, lots of advantage. So
I can see this critting again.
Failure. Maybe not. No, failure. It fails to hit, so the lasers just go pew 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 pew. Nice. But lots of advantage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 advantage. It shoots up the whole place, creating lots of
Durbus.
Debris. Yeah.
And it shoots the floor out from under me, and I fall to the level below.
I'll just make it fairly simple. I'll just give you guys a setback dice with 5. Yeah, 2 setback dice on each of you.
Whoa. Yeah. Alrighty. Yowzers, because there's just shit all over the place. All right.
Yeah.
Coolio. So.
And then we go back up to the PC slot.
Take it.
Right.
Take it.
You want me to take it? All right.
It's the only slot. It's the only enemy that can hurt you now. The other minions are like small tiny little things.
Okay.
Yeah.
How close is he from me? Short range, you said, probably? Labs, short range? Short. Yeah. All right. I'll move next to it.
All right.
Got the great axe out. Going to I'm going to swing the axe. How many story points on our side?
1.
Yep, I'll use it. Well, when
I do something. That's okay. I'll use 1 as well because to finish off. But
because you're a bad guy. Now, does he have any melee defense?
Yes, 1. And adversary 1.
You said 1 and adversary.
1 defense.
1 defense. I forgot the adversary 1. Okay, no problem. Okay, so I have 3 yellow a green, 2 red, and a setback die. Here we go. Oh man, bummer. We have 1 advantage. So I distracted enough to give the detective a boost die on his next check, so he's not distracted by its attacks or what he wants to do on his side. It's kind of focusing on me a bit. So boost die to your next check there, detective.
All right, so now you've got his attention, so he's going to, since you already moved into engage range, which it's going to use its serves. Yes.
All right.
2 greens, 2 yellow, 2 purple as base difficulty. Do you have any defense?
I don't. However, I still have defensive stance. Oh, wait a second. That was till the end of my next turn, which I just went. Forgot to do that. Nope, I'm good.
All right, so I'll spend a story point to upgrade. So we got 3 yellow, a green, and 2 purple. Do you want to start?
Did we have one to start this check? Because if so, I'll.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and upgrade it because I want you to despair and fall down or do something.
Self-destruct or. All right. Well, no despair.
Good.
Couple of yellows got blanks, so that's. So I got two successes and a threat.
Okay.
2 successes means a total of 7 damage.
Okay, I'll soak 6 of that.
So he can't activate crits or anything like that, or any other qualities. But he has a threat.
1 threat.
Threat could be suffers a strain or loses the benefit of a prior maneuver. Well, I didn't take a maneuver, so.
Yeah, give him a strain.
All right, so 1 strain. Well, which is a wound, so there we go.
Sweet. So maybe I block it, and my axe just kind of cuts into its one of its claws
parts,
a little bit, or one of its parts.
There we go. Excellent.
All right.
And Detective Rafa.
Would you have a boost die from me?
Yeah.
I am not a.
Move your mic up to your mouth there, Tony.
I'm not a left-handed character, but I've got this submachine gun tucked in my belt. Nice. Left-handed.
Okay.
I'm going to whip it out, so I'll take setback die for firing with the wrong hand.
Okay.
Awesome.
And I'm just going to spray and pray on the thing. I'm going to kick out for the auto fire.
Right. Since he's occupied with a new foe, he's disregarding you. So you're kind of flanking him. I'll give you a boost die as well.
Mm-hmm. So short range, increase difficulty for auto fire, get a boost die, quick draw it so I could use my maneuver to aim.
Mm-hmm.
Adversary.
And adversary 1, defense 1.
Adversary 1, defense 1, self-imposed setback die.
Buddy at melee with it, that might be an automatic upgrade as well, right? That's what we normally play. Or do we? That's kind of a house rule, but...
Yeah, I'll just spend a story point to upgrade it because of that. Because of your friend.
Right. Sounds good.
Okay.
So you have 2 story points on.
No, I'm not spending a story point. I'm just making sure I have all my dice right. Yep.
Okay. Come on.
Okay.
Man. You got this.
All right. First of all, red dice were both blank, so eat it. However, that doesn't mean I didn't have failures. My both setback dice gave me a failure each, leaving me with 1, 2, 3 successes, an advantage, and a triumph.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So, it's auto fire.
Mm-hmm.
3 successes is 8 damage.
All right. Minus
Triumph is 8 more.
Nice.
So 8 damage twice.
Yeah.
So that means minus its soak twice. That's still 6 points of damage on it.
Okay.
And you've got advantage and triumph.
I spent the triumph to activate auto fire. The advantage is I'll just pass a boost die to the next player slot.
All right. So it's shooting sparks. There's bullets, that have riddled it. It's shaking. So it's more than half,
Nice.
damaged. So that was you. Go back.
You know what? I forgot. Lucky Strike. I will spend my story point now and increase that damage by on both of those attacks. Or sorry, one hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
By 4.
So an extra 4.
4
Yeah.
wounds.
Yep, an extra 4 damage.
Woohoo.
4. Ooh, it's almost down. It's like 2 points away from its threshold. So things are sparking all over the place. It's jittering. PC slot up to
PC
Joe.
slot. All right.
Yeah,
you want me to finish it off, or you want to?
That's you. I just did.
All right.
My turn.
All right. Well,
You
then
just
back up to the top. Back up to the top.
Yeah,
So you can go if you want. You can do the second one.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to try and check it out with keep just spraying and praying into it.
Sure. All right.
I can see
Story
Joe.
on your side.
I see Joe up there with his axe, just kind of doing this. Bullets are ricocheting off of his axe, and then you just continue, and he's just kind of crouching down. What the fuck?
So I have the original pool built without the expenditure of story points. I'm not spending. GM?
Oh, I'll go to spend 1 because
Okay. There's my
Well, it's fine.
re-upgrade.
Because Buddy in the way.
I'll take 2 more strain to second aim.
Sure.
Awesome.
All right, because I got a hit with this one.
You got this.
All right, so
successes.
no triumph this time. I had 2 successes, so a total of 7 damage.
Okay.
And 2 advantage, enough to activate autofire a second time.
Nice.
So
right.
I'm going to just autofire, and then I'll spend my story point. And you just see, this is what Rafa's doing. He's walking forward and just
Towards, yep.
It's long dead. He's still shooting.
Oh yeah. Because even with
Bits
your
of
first,
it are flying off.
because even with your first burst, after soak makes it 12 out of its 12 wounds, and then your auto fire, and then Lucky Strike just overkills it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
And Big Joe
Even
just standing there.
some of the, yeah, you're Big Joe. You're standing. Actually, you see a couple of those tiny little score bots scurry around. Or you just stomp on them.
Or he's just shooting them too. Right? Just all over the
They're
place.
so small, your big work boots can just stomp on them.
Nice.
So the last thing I want to say though is that like the whole constant bullets, and then my Lucky Strike at the end is just one single shot, just a few seconds after all the others.
Right between the eyes.
Right between the eyes.
Nice. Nice.
So Joe can look at me and go, "Really? Was that necessary?"
Was it really?
Or whatever.
Yeah, it kind of was, wasn't it?
You see my arm?
Even if it wasn't necessary, it was a lot of fun and satisfying.
Yeah, it was.
And then you hear the whole room rumble as you look out through one of the skylights. A small rocket just leaves, it seems like, the ground, and it seems to be a familiar kind of vehicle, and it just streaks across the sky. And then you hear self-destruct in 3 minutes.
Oh shit!
And the cat looks up at you, going, leaps up on the horns of Detective Rafa and latches on like as you hurry out of the lab to escape. So the doctor managed to escape for another day.
Awesome. That's pretty good.
But at least our heroes managed to survive, to keep hunting.
Or do we end at another cliffhanger? Bum, 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 the end of the serial.
Yeah. Well, it's not as much of a cliffhanger as last time, I guess, but still, the story is still pending.
Nice. All right.
Very well done, gentlemen.
Yes,
All
thank you very much.
That
was awesome.
Thank you for getting us back to normal size, Chris. You rock.
Yeah.
I could have used that advantage to make us a little bigger. If you know what I mean?
I don't need to be any bigger. I ate a few too much Denny donuts when I was a cat.
It's all that homo milk.
Oh,
Nice.
I see what you did there.
I see what you did there too.
means homogenized, of course.
Well,
of course it does.
Of course it does. We knew that. Gosh, Stefan.
Yeah. There we
Well
go.
done there, GM. Good
Thank
story.
Yeah, I think,
Very good story.
and maybe we'll do another advantageous threat if a situation like this happens again. We can pick up part 2.
Part 2.
Yes, I like
right.
the being able to do to finish it up kind of thing. Nice.
Okay.
All right. Well, we ready to end the show then?
I think so.
Okay.
On a big high note.
All right. Let's do it. All right. Well, that's our show.
Moving on out.
Moving on out. All right, so we will that's our show for tonight, everybody. So our next show topic, what do I hear? I hear Ookla aerial ride. Yes, we are going to do Thunder the Barbarian next time. Tony's going to be running us through another actual play. With Stefan, and who do we have joining us with that? Well, we'll tell you guys then. But we'll have somebody join us. Play Thunder, dude. I'm looking forward to that. You're gonna have to watch that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to watch that cartoon between now and then.
Something, a few episodes at least, yes, before we start our new Ménage à Trois.
Nice. So that's what we got coming up next. Do we have any listener feedback this time?
Yes, we do, actually.
Okay.
So one of our very faithful and active listeners, Cody Doolittle, is on Twitter as well as Tally Darkstar. So he writes in saying, "Hey guys, since you didn't have any emails on this latest episode, speaking of the last one, episode 69, I wanted to send you all an email of support, praise, and thanks. You guys rock, and it's nice to hear you guys chat like you finished up a game and are sitting around the table just BSing about the system. And thank you for your hard work on the podcast. I try to spread the word around about you guys as much as I can, and when I heard that you hadn't received any emails as of late, I just wanted to show you all my support." So thank you again, Cody. I did reply to you, and I'm doing it publicly now. Yes, we do appreciate all your effort to boost our own signal in return. So
awesome.
the retweets and so forth. Yeah. Thank you,
Cody. That was great, dude. Appreciate that. And you know what? I like. Oh, go ahead.
No, say your piece.
Oh, I was just gonna say that it's kind of nice hearing that we come across as it's just kind of BSing about the system, like we're sitting around a table, because it's kind of what it feels like for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that we come across that way, because I don't want to sound like we got like poles stuck up our arses or anything. I like it to come across a little more informal. It's more fun.
Yes, we don't have formal scripts that we read out of.
Well, we have show notes. Not a script.
Show notes.
Sometimes barely, though. I mean, I'm pretty slow on getting the show notes out now and again.
You know what? Even if you didn't have them, we'll muddle through. We'll figure it out. Sorry, we'll figure it out. Right, stuff.
That's what
but I'd like to say thank you also, Cody. I appreciate, every little bit of feedback that we get, whether it's someone, posting on Facebook. We did get quite a bit of Facebook comments from other GMs that really appreciated the mastering encounters. We had people ask for my rousing
list,
an actual list of it.
Up of it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I really appreciate all the feedback that we got, and I just highlighted this one from Cody because it was an email, and the others were all just kind of Facebook comments. But
we still appreciate all the replies and stuff.
Yeah, and these are pretty annoying times for all of us, and it's nice to get validation that what you're doing is appreciated, and it keeps me wanting to do the show. It keeps us coming back every 2 weeks. And,
oh yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you to our dozens of listeners.
Yeah,
exactly.
We got a few out there. We got a few,
and we, as a matter of fact, to our dozens of listeners, if you want to reach out to us you could do so at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com, like Cody did. Or you can talk to us on Facebook. Stefan and I are over there at Finding the Narrative on MeWe. At Twitter, we have at @FTN_Genesys, and that's all caps on the FTN. You want to listen to us? We are now available in more formats. We are available Podbean, iTunes, YouTube. What used to be Google Play is now called Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now available on Audible and Amazon Music as well.
And I did check the other day. We do have all the episodes up on iHeartRadio if you guys listen to that as well.
So drop us a review on there if you could on Amazon, on iTunes. We've got a few reviews that I don't get on iTunes, so Chris has read them. But I would like to. I'm on Audible all the time. That's where I'm listening to podcasts now, is on Audible. If you drop us a review on Audible, I will see it.
Yeah, we'll check it out, definitely.
I'm on Podbean mostly. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see them on there too.
And we do hear from listeners on there from time to time, and we do try to answer those. I know we just heard from someone recently on the last episode who liked it, so we got a comment over there. I can't recall who you were, but yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, we totally.
And pretty soon, if we change the format of the show a little bit, we might be on Pornhub if we do the really adult version.
I don't think so. I mean, just saying.
All right.
Well, let's see here. We may have to. You may have to get another technical guy now. I told you I'm going to be busy next year, right?
Increase your salaries then. I'll double your salaries.
Double. All right.
So I get double goose egg. I'm good with that.
All right. Well, folks, this is Tony saying, tell a story and spend that story point.
And this is Stefan saying, dare to ask for those boost dice.
And remember the ruler of cool. Use it on your DM as much as you can. No, smack them on ours. No, I'm just kidding. But no, just remember the rule.
Knuckles, right across the knuckles.
Right across the knuckles. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And you know what? Just have fun doing it.
Yep.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast, is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. Copyright 2020, all rights reserved.